Good morning, everyone. I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Lee County Board of County Commissioners. Let's begin this morning with Pastor Enrique Rosario, the chaplain of pretrial services at the Lee County Justice Center. Chaplain, if you'll please join us at the podium for the invocation. Morning, sir.
Good morning to all. Let's pray. God, at this morning, we come before you, giving you thanks for everything you have done to us. And this morning, we ask for your blessings for every person here gathered today to this morning. Give them the wisdom, to govern our land, our county. I present to you our governor. I present to you, God, our mayors, our commissioners, our staff, everybody that's gathered here, visitors. I ask for blessings for all of them. God, in this moment, we ask for them, their families, and I hope, God, that you put that wisdom so they could go ahead and deal with all these problems that we're having in our nation, in our places, and help us to guide us so we could go and keep doing what you want us to do, that is enjoy your creation. We appreciate all your benefits that you give us, and we thank you for this men and women that are here that are doing their best, to guide this city, this county to the rightness of your love. In the name of God, the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, amen. In Numbers 6:24 to the 26, it states, "The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine upon you, and he be gracious to you. The Lord, his face toward you, and give you peace." Always a blessing to all of you from our Lord. Thank you very much. Amen.
For that blessing. Please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. Well, this morning I would like to begin by recognizing Commissioner Cecil Pendergrass for our Pet of the Month.
Good morning. Thank you. If I have Karen come up, we have a guest now. And Pablo is carrying Buzz this morning. And Buzz is looking for a home. And
all right. Hey, Buzz.
Buzz came dressed for the occasion. He wears
Good morning, Karen. So thank you again. If you got any programs coming up this month or for the Animal Service, love to hear about it. And I want to recognize some of your staff, too, while you're up here.
Of course. We have Mutt Madness this month in honor of basketball, March Madness. And it is $30 adoptions on all of our dogs, and they get a toy and treat with each adoption. On the 30th is our inaugural field day down at Estero Park. So everybody can sign up with their dogs. We will also have our pets out for adoption, so come on out for that. We've got a lot of new things coming up, so keep an eye on our Facebook page.
Great, thank you. And I think you have some more staff. You could have the rest of the staff come up. I would to recognize some great work they've done over the last 6 months. So, thank you, my board. We have a lot of great staff here in Lee County, all the different departments. But one thing Animal Services have been recognized this month in the past is because their work over the last 6 months with the hurricane. Everybody's focused on getting people back in their houses and everything, and the roofs getting repaired and dealing with building bridges. But also, at the end of the day, there were some people out there that did a lot of work for those without a voice. And I'd like to recognize that Lee County Domestic Animal Services has been named Outstanding Agency of the Year by the Florida Animal Control Association, FACA. And it's a yearly conference. Animal Services, the Fort Myers Beach Search and Rescue Team also received Outstanding Cooperative Team Achievement Award for their efforts following Hurricane Ian. And also, during Hurricane Ian, Lee County Department of Animal Services staff worked 7 shelters and protected 358 animals. 60 animals were rescued and reunited with their families, and over 150 animals were cared for in their shelter during this time. So again, thank you to your time and all your efforts. Yeah. Get a picture. Get Buzz in the picture, too.
Now, is it Jazz or Buzz? It says Buzz. Okay, it says Jazz on the screen. Right. No, it's all good.
That's my nickname.
You're Jazz?
Yeah.
Good old Jazz Pendergrass.
So thank you all for everything you do.
Thank you, guys. Congratulations. Good luck, Buzz.
Thank you, Chairman.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner. All right, at this time, I'd like to recognize our Clerk of Courts, Kevin Carnes, for a special presentation. Good morning, Mr. Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, Commissioners. If I can ask Ms. Joanne Miller to come up and join me today. I appreciate your time to celebrate a small piece of Lee County's history that really is an important part of the clerk's office. And Ms. Joanne Miller here is our historical records specialist. She has served 41 years in the clerk's office. So please, round of applause for Ms. Joanne. As you all know, Lee County was founded in 1887, in July 4th. And so for the longest time, our office has had this picture of our very first county leaders, and we really didn't know who was who in this photo. And thanks to Joanne's knowledge and dedication of our county's history, she has uncovered a 136-year-old mystery, and we now have a face to the name of our very first clerk of court, Mr. James W. Bain, who is now on the screen, and that's thanks to Ms. Joanne Miller. And so I just wanted to let you all know this is an important part of our history as we serve the citizens of this county and you all as county commissioners. And we have a couple of more pictures to uncover. We have 2 or 3 more mysteries in the clerk of court lineage to solve. But Ms. Joanne Miller has decided to retire after 41 years of service. And she's not going anywhere because she's going to be doing her part of the Southwest Florida Historical Society. And I'm sure that with all of her new free time, she'll be able to uncover more mysteries that I think you all in our community will cherish. So, Ms. Joanne, thank you for your service and thank you for solving this mystery.
You're very welcome.
Can we have a picture?
Yes.
Kevin, you gotta get
Kevin, we think you have the little handlebar mustache. You got the beard one. I mean,
Yeah. All right, this one's for the record.
All right, 1, 2, and 3.
Thank you.
congratulations. Thank you.
About left 3 times.
All right.
Congratulations, Joanne.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk, and congratulations, Joanne. We appreciate all your hard work. All right, at this time, Commissioners, we will take up the recap. This is when we talk about any additions, deletions, or corrections that need to be made to agenda items. On public hearing item number 1, there is a revision that needs to be made to the motion. It's outlined on the recap. And then that looks to be the only item that needs action. Would somebody make the motion as outlined in the recap?
Gladly will do so.
All right, motion from Commissioner Ruane. All right, and we have a second from Commissioner Sandelli. This is only just to approve the revision to the motion. We'll take the item up when we get to public hearings. But has anyone come to speak in public comment on public hearing number 1 and the motion that is being revised? Okay, seeing none, then we'll close public comment. Commissioners, any further discussion? Are there any objections? No objections. That motion carries unanimously. All right, at this time, I'd like to ask, does anyone have anything to pull from the consent agenda for discussion? Commissioner Greenwald?
I do not.
Okay, Commissioner Pendergrass?
Yes, one item, number 3, just for discussion.
Very good. And Commissioner Sandelli? And Commissioner Ruane?
No.
And I have nothing to pull for discussion. All right, does somebody wish to make a motion to approve the balance of the consent agenda?
I will do so.
I'll second.
Okay, so the motion is from Commissioner Ruane and the second is from Commissioner Greenwell. At this time, I have one public comment card that wishes to speak on items 5 and 23. I'll call Marcia Ellis. Good morning.
Good morning, gentlemen. So I am speaking about 2 consent items, and I'm primarily going to focus on number 5. And number 5 is the adopt a resolution for necessity for Alico Road Connector Phase 1 widening. As you know, this is my neighborhood where I live off of Alico Road, and I had spoken last time that you guys had met about the concerns for DeVore Lane for us merging into the Alico Road dump truck traffic. Well, since then, gentlemen, we had a rollover of a dump truck again at the Alico Bend. And I have brought with me today a share with you and to return to Lee DOT the school bus sign that was crushed in that accident. And I am just asking, gentlemen, before there is any more approval on consent agenda for the Alico Road Connector, that we convene a public meeting so that we can have maximum public involvement in the road widening of this sector, because real folks are impacted. And we know guidance, state and federal guidance for roads necessitate that public involvement at key decision points be given. And before this goes any further, I just want to have an opportunity for myself and my neighbors to weigh in on this very, very serious issue. And I'm just going to take a seat now, because I think that this sign says much more than I can about the seriousness of this issue. Thank you, gentlemen, for your time.
Thank you for your comments this morning, Ms. Ellis. Does anybody else wish?
I will. I'll get it to, I'm going to take it over to Vince Miller, since he's heading up the Alico Connector. Thank you, sir.
It's actually county property, though.
Yeah,
It's actually county property, though.
we can deal with that after the meeting. Okay, has anyone else come to speak in public comment on any of the other consent agenda items? We'll have the public presentation of matters by citizens later in the meeting. Okay, I see no further public comment then. And Commissioners, is there any further discussion then on the motion on the floor, which
I'd
is?
just like to say, thanks for the public comment. We need to see the urgency, how important it is we widen this road as fast as possible, make it safer for the residents, so we can increase the traffic and make it more safer for the area there. So thank you.
I agree 100%. We got to widen that road. All right, very good. If there's no further discussion, then are there any objections? Seeing no objections, that motion carries unanimously. At this time, we'll take up item number 3. And Commissioner Pendergrass, would you like to introduce the item?
Yes, this is regarding the cell tower on Boca Grande, and it's contacted by the residents out there, some different groups out there. And this one of the basic, we know how important it is to have the cell service out there and how there's issues out there. And my only question is to have staff, and Dave's come back here now, is they're asking to have small work groups of a committee to meet with county staff and for the vertical bridge committee, and also the community cell tower committee to meet with staff. So if we could just have staff work with them on this project, obviously we don't want to slow it down or anything. We want to continue, but the group wants to be involved with the county as far as the design in the future of this. So we just have staff, make sure staff is working with them.
Mr. Chair?
Yeah.
Yes, Commissioner, we are currently meeting with a number of folks up there, and we will continue to do that with this process as well.
Great. Thank you very much. Okay, I'll move the item.
Very good. So we have a motion for approval from Commissioner Pendergrass, and the second is from Commissioner Ruane. Do we have any further discussion on that before I take public comment? Okay. At this time, I'd like to call for public comment on consent agenda item number 3. That's the Boca Grande Communication Tower Facility item. Okay, I see no speakers, so we'll come back to the board. Commissioners, any further discussion on that item? I just wanted to ask our county attorney one question for the record. We talked about this in our briefing. The resolution today, all it accomplishes is the ability to continue to move forward under the height that we're talking about. It does not, because the site plan is attached to it, that doesn't mean, though, that we're married to that site plan, and we're not approving the site plan today, correct? Can you clarify that?
That's correct, Mr. Chairman. What we're asking for is basically a finding of public necessity by this board to allow for compliance with the special rules that govern development on the island. In as much as this is a replacement tower, so we need the finding of public necessity so that we can move forward throughout the permitting process. You are not approving any specific site design by virtue of today's action, merely the finding of public necessity.
All right, that answers my question too then. All right, if there's no further discussion then, are there any objections to the motion? Seeing none, that motion carries unanimously. All right, at this time, we will take up the administrative agenda, and we don't have any items on the administrative agenda. So we will move to the public hearings agenda, and I'd like to recognize the county attorney's office.
Morning, Commissioners. David Halverson, County Attorney's Office. I have your public hearing this morning. This item has been duly advertised, and I provided an affidavit of publication to the clerk. As a quick reminder, this item was on your agenda recap for purposes of clarifying a motion requested. So with that, item number 1 is a petition to vacate the public's interest in a portion of the public utility easement located along the southern and eastern boundaries of the platted lot at 4500 Lee Boulevard and Lehigh Acres. This action will remove encumbrances so that a portion of the property may be conveyed to the county for right-of-way purposes. As part of this motion, staff is requesting that the board accept the conveyance of a portion of the property via quitclaim deed. There were no objections to the requested vacation, and staff's available for any questions.
Very good. Do we have any questions for our staff at this time? All right, seeing none, then I'll call for public comment. Has anyone come to speak on public hearing number 1 today? Okay, seeing no speakers, then I'll close public comment. Commissioners, does somebody wish to make a motion?
Move the item.
Okay, the motion is for approval, including the new motion as set forth in the recap from Commissioner Pendergrass, and the second was from Commissioner Ruane. Do we have any further discussion? Are there any objections? No objections, that motion carries unanimously. Thank you, sir. All right, at this time, do we have any walk-ons or carryovers, Mr. County Manager?
No, sir, no walk-ons or carryovers today.
Okay, very good. We'll take up commissioner items. Commissioner Greenwell, do you have any commissioner items for today?
I do not.
Commissioner Pendergrass?
Yes, I have one. I'd like to address with this with the board to see if we can get consensus to direct the staff. Something's came up recently where, for example, Metro Parkway, we all know Metro between Colonial and Daniels has increased with traffic, increased activity because all the new construction due to the hurricane. For example, there's a bakery restaurant on Metro Parkway that they saw during COVID and during the last year or two where they wanted to expand and to have a drive-through. What's unique about the area, since it's considered, I think it's considered light industrial, they weren't able to do that because of the uses of the facility. But even though down the street, there's a restaurant, Shrimp Shack has a drive-through, the 2 banks across the street that has drive-throughs. It's a Starbucks now farther south off of 6 Mile, and Metro has a drive-through. It's more convenient. So I was asking to have discussion and direct staff to amend the land development code to allow drive-throughs as permitted use in conjunction with Group 2 restaurants, so it's not fast food restaurants, in the light industrial zoning district. This will allow drive-throughs as a permitted use in conjunction with a restaurant which is already permitted as a use of an IL zoning district. So that's my request, to see if there's a consensus of the board to have staff work on that and bring it back to us in the future.
Okay, commissioners, any comments, questions?
No, it seems to me that, I guess, Chairman, if I may, I guess I do have a comment. It seemed like to me it would be a pretty easy thing to be able to do, simply because obviously light industrial is a little tougher zoning than a C3 or C1 or C2. So I think it makes sense that we would be able to do that.
And like I said, in this instance, for example, in the area, there's already restaurants and banks with drive-through facilities, and it'd be based upon the use of the current development orders, if they're the parking and the parking lot's designed to adapt to that. So there's not just an open door for everybody to have a drive-through. It's only for certain type of uses, so.
Very good. Mr. County Attorney, do we need a motion to direct staff to prepare that item and bring it back on a future agenda?
Yes, sir, if you would, just to clarify that it's to direct staff to study the issue and bring it back for further consideration through the public hearing process.
Okay, and Commissioner Pendergrass, do you wish to make that motion?
Yes.
Okay, so the motion is from Commissioner Pendergrass. Do we have a second? Second from Commissioner Greenwell. Do we have any further discussion on that? Does anybody wish to speak on this motion before we vote on it? Okay, seeing no speakers, we'll close that. Any further discussion, commissioners? Seeing none, are there any objections? No objections, that motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Thanks, Commissioner Pendergrass. I have no items this morning. Commissioner Sandelli, any items you wish to bring up? Commissioner Ruane.
I do. Just for everyone's edification, on Monday, the Long-Term Recovery Task Force for elected officials met. Meeting was a little under 2 hours. One of the first chores that they gave was to actually fill the branches with people. They all made nominations. So I have a long list. I had forwarded to you all. I know I need to read them for the record, but if I could do so, it'd make things a little bit easier.
Excellent.
Okay. Okay, so the first committee is planning capacity. The leads will be Sid Kitson and Sandra Stillwell. All the members of the task force made the various nominations, so everyone had an opportunity to do so. Inside that committee will be Jennifer Hagan, Alvin Henderson, Ron Martin, David Mintz, Stephanie Warden, Megan Strayhorn, Linda Swindett, Doug Van Ort, and Eric Pfeiffer. On the economic recovery, the leads will be Chad Criswell and Dominic Camarada, Jay Johnson, Donna Germain, John Lai, Ryan Markham, Ben Spence, Shane Spring, Robert Wells, Tim Abbott, Tim Mitchell, Ben Siegel, and Frank Benefilia. Under education, Dr. Mike Martin, Members will be Dr. Denise Carlin, Katie Arrington, Jamie Legenhart, Dr. Guido Minire, Jonathan Roth, Laura Steiben Morgan, Ms. Toomer, Shannon Tubley, Michael Wissack, and Jamie Wessinger. Under Health and Services, Troy Churchill will be the chair, Dana Bagley, Dawn Bakamich, Nicole Calderon, Greg DeWitt, Therese Everly, Tom Fleck, Julie Ferguson, Angela Katz, Dr. Quinez, Ken Smith. Under Infrastructure, Ryan Carter will be the chair, David Camaretti, Paul Culligan, David Crystal, Bill Ripple, Danny Ballard, Stephen Schwer, Rick Schooler, Michael Welsh. On the Housing, Gary Griffin and Tom Oliveri will be the chairs. Ben Alex, Kenneth Bresser, Marianne Briggs, Marcia Davis, Richard Dorling, Lee Ford, Mary Gibbs, Jan Huslick, Dana Obraskis, Chris Simone, and Amy Yardsley. On the Natural Resources, Stan DeLisi will chair, Ryan Berger, Daniel Andrews, Chad Quirch, Matt DePloyas, James Evans, Kate Goodaham, Joanne Ripple, Dr. Maya Roberts, Mary Beth Saunders, Jesse Soares, and Casey Streeter, and Matt Caldwell. The last is Cultural Resources, and that will be Sonata Anderson, Lydia Black, Michael Flanders, and Gloria Tate. There can be more people added, but that's the initial list that the task force members submitted for names. I can't thank Haggerty and Collaboration enough for orchestrating the meeting, taking the minutes. It was highly well attended. I thought it was a good start to kick off. And that's my nomination for the members.
Very good. Do we need a motion or?
Yeah, that's my motion.
Okay, so we have a motion from Commissioner Ruane to appoint the aforementioned named members to the task force. Do we have a second? Second from Commissioner Sandelli. Do we have any further discussion on that motion? Does anybody wish to make a comment on the motion before we take a vote? Okay, seeing no public comment, then back to the board. Any discussion? Any objection? No objection. That motion carries unanimously. And we'll submit that to the clerk as well for the record.
That concludes my report.
Thank you, Commissioner. All right. Do you have any commissioner appointments, Commissioner Greenwell?
I do.
Okay, very good.
I have three, Chairman. New, I have Don Russell for the Local Planning Agency Committee. New, I have Natalie Collington for Community Action Agency Committee. And new, I have Thomas Morgado for Parks and Rec Services Committee.
Very good. So we have a motion from Commissioner Greenwald.
Second.
Second from Commissioner Pendergrass. Do we have any discussion on that item? Any objection? No objection. That motion carries unanimously. Commissioner Pendergrass?
Yes, I have two new appointments. The first one is Taylor Brown for the well construction, and the second one is a new appointment for Marcella Morada for Community Action Agency Neighborhood District.
Okay, we have a motion from Commissioner Pendergrass and a second from Commissioner Ruane. Any discussion? Any objection? No objection. That motion carries unanimously. I have no appointments this morning. Commissioner Sandelli?
I have 4 reappointments, 1 new appointment. On the reappointments, Brian Burgess for the Anchorage Water and Coastal MSBU, Mark Lindsay, same committee, Anchorage Waterway MSBU, Roy Henry, same committee, Anchorage Way MSBU, Kevin Shimp for Waterways, and 1 new appointment, Dana Mining for Old Pelican Bay Channel.
Very good. We have a motion from Commissioner Sandelli.
Second.
Second from Commissioner Ruane. Any discussion? Any objection? No objection. That motion carries unanimously. And Commissioner Ruane?
I have 4. One's a new appointment. It's Linda Poggett to the Cherry Blueberry Improvement District. Then I have 3 reappointments. First one's Bill Caldwell to the Boca Grande Historic Preservation. Reappointment Susan Weir to the Cherry Blackberry Improvement District. And the last reappointment is Tom Topridge to the Waterways Advisory.
Very good. We have a motion from Commissioner Ruane. Do we have a second? Second from Commissioner Sandelli. Any further discussion? Are there any objections? No objections. That motion carries unanimously. All right, that concludes Commissioner Committee appointments. Mr. County Manager, you're recognized for your items.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Commissioners, we have two items for you this morning, and the first one is a discussion on a burn ban locally, and would ask Assistant County Manager Chris Brady to help us with that discussion.
Commissioners, good morning. Our public safety team continues to work with the Fire Chiefs Association and the Florida Forest Service to monitor drought conditions. We are approaching the Keach-Byram Drought Index, otherwise known as the KBDI, and anticipate that we will meet conditions set forth in your burn ban ordinance before the next board meeting. We are seeking the board's approval to allow the chairman to execute this burn ban once those conditions have been met. Thank you.
Very good. So at this time, Commissioners, does anybody wish to make a motion as outlined by our Assistant County Manager?
Move the item.
Okay, the motion's from Commissioner Pendergrass, seconds from Commissioner Greenwell. Do you have any further discussion on that? No. Okay, if there's no further, does anybody wish to speak in public comment on the motion before we take a vote on that? Okay, I see no speakers, so we'll close public comment. The only question I have is just, so you'll get with me then when we satisfy the criteria that's in the ordinance, and with the approval of the board, then I can sign that?
We'll coordinate with the county attorney's office to drop the appropriate paperwork. I believe there's a state or local emergency that will need to be executed as well, but I defer to the county attorney on the legalities of what have to happen.
Okay, Mr. County Attorney?
Mr. Chairman, just to clarify, as we understand the board's motion and action today, it's to delegate to the chair the authority to sign the state of local emergency and the burn ban once conditions are met. So no further action would be needed by this board to allow you to execute those documents on behalf of the county.
Okay, sounds good. All right, any further discussion or questions? Seeing none, are there any objections? No objections, that motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Okay. Mr. County Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to ask Deputy County Manager Dave Harner to talk with you and everyone about ball field lighting in all of our parks. It's a topic that's on the minds of a lot of people. There's been much written about it, but we'd like Dave to give you the factually accurate information this morning. Dave?
Thank you, Roger. Good morning, Commissioners. As we all know, we're very concerned about the lights, and like any entity or any group of people, we would like to ensure that our community has all the components to participate in our facilities. Based on some of the concerns, and we do agree, the lights do work in some of our facilities, but that is not the concern that we're looking at when we talk about this. What we have done, and what I like to do today, is just to address all the things that we've done to try to A, see if the lights are usable, and B, how we can expedite getting the fields back up as quickly as possible. So what we did, if we can switch to the next slide, what we did is we had our electricians go out and check the foot candles, first of all. They measured those foot candles specifically at North Fort Myers. We also have done it at other fields, but I'm just going to strictly talk about the North Fort Myers fields. Based on the Illuminating Engineering Society, they set the standard and the average maintained foot candle levels for appliances such as ball fields. That is what we follow. That's what Major League follows. That's what college follows. They follow that standard. When we measured at North Fort Myers, no field met the foot candles that are required to use the facility safely. And we have that in a number of our fields. We believe all our fields are at that same level. I don't have the reports in front of me, but Estero falls under that same situation where it does not meet the foot candles. But we didn't stop there. The next thing we did is we had staff go out into our facilities to look at the fields themselves to let us know what was wrong with our facilities, so that it's not just meeting the foot candles, but there's a lot of components that are missing. I'm not going to read this entire list, but I'll just give the highlights. If you look at Kelly Road, they have 119 lights out, 27 fixtures need adjustment, and 10 fixtures are missing. If you look at Estero Park, you have 13 light bulbs out, 2 fixtures need adjustment, and 4 are missing. If you look at North Fort Myers Community Park, you have 23 light bulbs out, 44 fixtures need adjustment, and 3 fixtures are missing. So obviously that's a concern to us from the safety of using our facilities. The next thing we did is we reached out to Musco, because Musco has stated to us that they're not going to be able to come out till later because they're dealing with this all over the country, and specifically in southern Florida. But we were able to get them come out this week, and they're doing their assessment now on the football field specifically. The list up here is what they're looking at right now. So we addressed that, and the reason why we addressed it is because we were able to work out a schedule for baseball. Baseball's playing, they're not using lights. We wanted to make sure that, because the concern with football, how can we address that and move that forward? So they're out here looking at our lights. We should have some reports at the end of this week, but ultimately we will have reports by the end of the month about what the assessed damage is, what materials we may need, and potentially what cost they will be. So that we can come back to the board at the end of the month, hopefully, and give you options beyond waiting for FEMA and reimbursement. We can look at other options of potentially moving forward and addressing this. Right now, I can't tell you, and neither can Musco. They can't tell you exactly what's wrong with every single facility until we get the drones up. Drones aren't going to happen until after next week. We tried, Chris Brady and I have called numerous times. We've tried to get that to happen sooner, but they're all over the place using those facilities, including major league facilities. I know there was a concern about us working on major league facilities above and beyond youth league. I'd like to address that as well. The Red Sox sustained no damage to their facility. Their lights sustained no damage at all. They are, again, Major League Baseball is built to a different standard. There's a requirement for MLB that you have to build to. Red Sox didn't sustain any damage. They were able to use their lights right off the bat. The Twins, on the other hand, did sustain damage, and they have not played any night games. So their night games have not happened. There's a potential that they may be able to do a game on the 21st, but we haven't confirmed that yet, and we're still working with a structural engineer on that as well. So the good thing that's coming out of this is we got Musco here. We are working, let me take one step back too. The other thing we did as well to address the situation is to see if we can bring in temporary lighting. We've talked to a number of companies. We are unable to bring in enough lighting to meet the needs, to meet the foot candles that are required. We can only, right now, today, we could probably bring 2 lights in to take care of, enough lights in to do 2 fields. That's all we can do, which would be unfair if we only did 1 field and not everyone else. So we continue to look at this and address this and find ways to expedite it. And again, we will be coming back to the board following the Musco's assessment at the end of the month and giving you options to look forward and what we can do potentially to, again, expedite this.
Mr. Chair?
Yeah, Mr.
Additionally, we've seen no shortage of emails and some articles written that would suggest that we're shortchanging youth sports. And I will hope that that is just simply people who are frustrated over not having a normal schedule, not being able to do what we normally do. You invest millions of dollars in youth sports and youth programs every year, and that's a really high priority for us. And so I think I just felt compelled to make that statement because, people are frustrated. I get it, but I promise you, we're moving as fast as we can to get these fields ready for night play.
Okay. Any questions, or Commissioner Greenwell?
Yeah, I do, obviously. So how many of the fields are actually unusable? I know Hancock shut down, right? So do we have, how many fields or ballparks do we have that we're just not able to use?
I'm going to ask Jesse. All these fields here are usable at this point in time.
During the day?
Correct, during the day and weekends.
Okay.
Good morning. Yes, it's just Kurt Donaldson Park that is unusable during the day.
Okay.
And that's...
And Hancock we are able to use during the day?
That's Hancock.
Oh,
it's called
yeah,
Kurt
they've changed the
Donaldson.
name. Okay. Okay. And the damage there is basically some dugouts, fencing, backstop, and obviously lights.
Yes.
Do we have an idea of how long? I mean, obviously, I played at Hancock, so how long to get that where we can open it? Do we have any idea? I mean, it's really fencing, and there's no major damage besides the dugouts, but the dugouts are meaning destroyed, like down?
Yes, sir.
So we have,
Not all of them,
but some of them?
yes.
Okay, so we are looking at a little longer than just getting some fencing done.
Yes, and the fencing procurement was opened on March 1st, so we are prepared to get the work done.
Okay, so I'll have some questions for you after the meeting, and maybe we can meet and discuss maybe a timeline to give the answer to the people a little closer
Yes,
to
sir.
what we're looking at over there, because traveling with these kids all over the place is tough too, you know, so I want to see if we can address that as fast as possible. And also, so our baseball fields, my understanding, Dave, is you're saying that, thanks, Jared, thank you. The baseball fields are, baseball teams are able to play.
Correct.
They're just having to play during the day. I know we have some fields that have lights. Are we working to allow some of the teams to play every now and then there, or how are we scheduling that?
We have no lights available for,
None.
for our sports teams at this point in time.
Okay, I misunderstood then. Okay, so it's all daytime baseball.
Correct.
So I would say to the constituents and the parents out there, just understand that they are definitely trying. We are discussing it in-house. And also, if I may say, I played at a high school that didn't have lights. We only played occasionally, and when we did, we played at Terry Park. So I know it's tough. I have grandchildren that are out there playing as well right now. And now that it's come to even more of our attention, I'll be meeting with Dave and them and try to push it as far as we can, because obviously the youth means a lot, sports means a lot to our children in this county, and that should be a big, huge priority. So I want you to know that I will do all I can to see how fast we can get this done.
Commissioner Sandelli, you have a comment?
No, I mean, I think it's another piece in us getting back to what we consider normal. And certainly sports unifies people, unifies the community, and energizes all of us. So I appreciate the work that's been done and the concern for safety long-term. So thank you.
I'd like to say,
Pendergrass?
Dave, so my question is, a comment too, is obviously the county spent millions of dollars through the years of taxpayer dollars to build these fields and maintain them over the years. So we see our commitment to Lee County with this. But as far as the hurricane damage, we're following the same format protocol we've done throughout the county. We're placing stop signs, traffic signals, beaches, piers, so there's no extra cost to the local residents. If we go outside of this realm for this one project, but not the other ones, we don't replace red lights, we replace piers, boat docks, or anything else, and we don't wait for FEMA, that's all back onto the Lee County taxpayers overall, correct?
Yes, that is correct, Commissioner.
Okay, thank you.
I had a couple questions, because I think we're going to hear them in public comment. So, number one, just to clarify, and you hit on it already, there were no repairs made to get the Red Sox playing at night. The Red Sox stadium sustained no damage to the lighting system, so they were just able to play. The Twins actually are not playing night games right now because they did sustain damage, and it has not been repaired yet. We need to inspect that and work on that. Okay, so there was no big leaguers put above children's sports. Okay. So let me ask this, because I think this is going to come up in public comment today. Why are the city's fields able to play why are they able to play on city fields under the lights? Are they? And if they are, then why?
I am not aware of the city, if they're allowing, the last conversation we had, and I'll say City of Cape Coral, was in the same boat we are. If something's changed, I have not heard about it. I know the school district has taken upon themselves to take care of some of their own lights and risk not getting reimbursed. I know that for a fact. We talked to them recently. They haven't done all their fields, but they have done a number of fields themselves. They have had their assessment through Musco. We're getting ours now. So Musco's just following through with all the entities in the county.
Do we have that cost yet of what we would be putting at risk if we wanted to? Do we know how much that project would cost to fix all the lights on our own then if we didn't want to go seek FEMA reimbursement?
No, Commissioner, we will have that by the end of this month. That's when we will have the drone footage completed and all the assessments beyond what the county has done through Musco. So we will have that. Our goal is to have it by the end of the month to bring back to the board to give you an estimate, a rough estimate.
And then so on temporary lighting, you said there just isn't enough temporary lighting available to do all the fields, and it would be unfair to do only some and not the others? You'd have to pick a winner and loser community over the others?
Correct. We only have, through our contacts that we've reached out to, there are only enough to do 2 lights or 2 fields within Lee County.
Okay.
and you cannot do baseball. So all you could do would be football and soccer. No one does baseball. So it'd just be strictly football or soccer, and that's only 2 fields that we could light up.
So how did the conversation go with the baseball clubs to get them to agree to only do the daytime play? I mean,
Quite honestly, it was a relatively easy conversation. Our lights were out. We've talked to, myself, Chris Brady, Jesse Lavender have all spoken to a number of coaches that reached out to us concerned about lighting. But they work their schedules around the usage of lights. We have daylight savings time coming up this weekend. They were prepared for that as well, to allow them to play further into the night, in the next coming weeks as that happens. They're playing their games on the weekends, so we were able to work around it. They've done their practices during the weekdays, during the light time. So we've offered the fields to everyone. It's exclusive to our youth leagues, and we will continue to do that. We allow them to use them. We will make sure that it's strictly for youth leagues that obviously have the agreement with us.
so baseball worked with you on it, then what happened with football?
I have not had any conversations with any coaches. I know that the Parks and Rec team has worked with them. We gave them the same thing we've said to lacrosse. I did speak to a few lacrosse people that did reach out to me directly. We told them the same thing. We will open the fields up any time of the day as long as it's daylight. They can use them, and they can use them on the weekend all weekend long. So we've offered the same thing to all leagues.
Okay.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir, Mr. Kemp.
I'd like you to know that, I met with the North Fort Myers Youth League football coaches at the North Fort Myers baseball field. It was after dark, turned the lights on, and walked the field to just get a sense of how that looks. And truthfully, it left my own devices, and without the liability and some of the equity concerns, I'd let kids practice at night, football. Would not under any circumstance let baseball play under those lighting conditions because, the game's too fast. You wouldn't be able to track the baseball in that kind of a lighting condition. But in North Fort Myers, it's not optimum, but it's after having a lot of conversation with Dave and county attorney and some others, I just don't see how we can, there is liability, it's a real liability. There is a real equity issue. I don't know how we say okay under those conditions to one team, and then if we have similar conditions at other fields around the county that we say no to them. So this is a tough issue, but again, we're working as fast as we can.
Yeah, okay, sounds good. I mean, I know we're going to hear lots in public comment, and I see people shaking their heads no on the liability thing, but I recall very clearly since I've been on the board, we had an incident at Riverdale High School not too long ago where a player didn't get enough water breaks, and unfortunately, he passed away, and the county was even named in that lawsuit. So, I mean, it's not like these aren't made up things. These do happen to us. We have spent millions of taxpayer dollars on them before. It's not something that we want to see the rest of the county have to pay for. I mean, these aren't figments of our imagination.
Mr. Chair, I'm not an attorney, obviously, and I didn't come to that conclusion on my own. That's in consultation with the county attorney.
Yeah, okay. All right, any further, Commissioner Ruane?
Just a question. Obviously, we've identified a whole bunch of parks. Do we have them listed in the easiest to the hardest to repair?
We will have that again at the end of the month. As soon as Musco gives us the list, we will have that by the end of the month.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. West, yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If I might, just at the last meeting, we spoke briefly about the potential for liabilities. Excuse me. And then we also spoke about the potential for waivers. Our recommendation with regard to the use of waivers has not wavered. As a matter of fact, based on additional work that we have done during these interceding 2 weeks, including but not limited to a lighting analysis that came back that did not support that our lights meet acceptable standards, our stance on a waiver potential is even more concrete than it was 2 weeks ago. I would respectfully suggest to you that any discussion about the potential to execute a waiver would fail under Florida law, given the fact that we now have absolute knowledge that our lighting standards do not meet acceptable industry standards.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anything further, commissioners? All right. All right, at this time then, does that conclude county manager comments then?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair, thank you.
Okay, very good. We have county attorney items, and then we'll get to the public presentation of matters by citizens, which I assume will pick up on that conversation. And Mr. County Attorney, anything?
No, sir, thank you.
Okay, very good. So at this time, we'll go ahead and call public presentation of matters by citizens. And let's start with Cameron Green. What I'm going to do is I'm going to call people up to the podium. And Cameron, when you get up there, you don't need to touch anything. The mic will pick you up. And there's a green light, a yellow light, and a red light on the very top. When the red light comes on, that means just like a stoplight, it's time to stop talking. And then we'll call the next speaker after you.
That's the red light.
Okay.
Welcome, Cameron. Go ahead whenever you're ready.
Hello, Commissioners. My name is Cameron. I'm 10 years old and I love cheerleading. The reason I want you to open the North Fort Myers Park and Recreation Center is because right now we are practicing at a school that also serves as a church, and we're practicing on concrete, and so we can't stunt, jump, or tumble. And the football players are practicing on Saturday and Sunday. The cheerleaders need to stunt, jump, and tumble for our competition, and our competition is our one and only chance to succeed this season. My brother is shy, so I know from experience that being at the football field helps him and others make more friends and grow socially. A lot of people use our fields for a good cause. I would really love it if you would please let us use the field and get back to normal activities after the hurricane. And finally, cheer is a big part of my life, and I miss it so much. It would be a big help if you supported our community by opening the field. So please consider my speech when it comes to decision-making time. Sincerely, Cameron.
Thank you, Cameron. Great job. How old are you? 10? That's awesome. Good deal. Well, thank you for coming and talking today. Coach Steve Brown.
Good morning, Commissioners. I had a whole long speech prepared that I took some time to write, but you guys brought up a bunch of the information today. For instance, when I met Mr. DeJarleg at our field and he was able to look around and kind of agreed with me that the field should be used. The Deputy County Manager, I apologize if I forgot your name, brought up the fact that there is a book out that tells you what is the acceptable light level in a park. It's not a code, it's a simple recommendation and standard. I actually went out and spent $140 to buy the book myself. It's called the IESNA Reference and Lighting Application Handbook. Chapter 20 covers sports and recreation lighting. One key point that's jumped out at me when we're talking about these lighting candlelight levels is that while there is an acceptable candlelight for recreational football, it changes based on the level of your play, the candlefoot acceptable level is 20 candlefoot for recreational play. But what these folks here, I believe, are missing is what is also built into that same recommendation is a standard deviation of 30%. This is the difference between what they call initial illuminance and maintained illuminance. Basically what they're saying is older lights are not as bright as newer lights. And that the recommended lighting level for a youth football league should be somewhere between 14 and 20 candlefoot. Again, this is a recommendation. There are no codes. When I called local lighting engineers, they all told me there is no code regarding what is acceptable light on a youth football field or any field for that matter. There is no code. These are recommendations. These are not codes. These are what they say. If you test the lights for safety of lighting, this is where we say we recommend it should be. Again, it's not a code, it's a recommendation, and there is a 30% standard deviation. But I'll ask you, Mr. Greenwell, probably our most decorated athlete to come out of Lee County, in my opinion, ever. Where would your career have been had you not had a chance to go practice on a field? I don't think you would have achieved what you became, which probably should have been the MVP in Major League Baseball. Now, we talked about all these fields that are damaged, okay, that there's problems at fields. That's true. At our facility, there are 3 football fields. 2 of our fields are serviced by 4 light towers. The field that I toured with Mr. DeJarleg has roughly 40 light bulbs that light the field. While we toured, they were missing 3 lights. Okay? That field should be usable. But let me tell you about our backfield at our park. It's serviced by just 2 light towers, a total of 24 lights. So if we've always used this lighting meter to determine what is safe, that backfield would have never, ever passed what they consider safe, because I did go to North Fort Myers High School, but I promise you that 37 is more than 24. So if our main game field fails right now with 37 lights, that backfield with 24 lights would have never passed. I think it's time that we use some common sense. Open the fields at the parks that are usable, keep the fields at the parks that are closed closed. For instance, our field number 2 was missing all the lights they had posted up there, not field number 1. Field number 1 is usable today.
Hey, Coach, can I ask just one question real quick? Sure. What time does practice usually wrap up at the field?
In a traditional time, it's 8 o'clock.
8 o'clock? Okay, thanks, Coach. All right, let's call up Jessica.
Commissioner, I apologize, it's 8:30 we end practice.
6:30
to 8:30, yes, sir.
6:30 to 8:30. All right, thanks, Coach. All right, Jessica Cavalier, followed by Ashley Simon. So Jessica, if you'll come speak, and then Ashley, if you'll get ready, you'll be next.
Did we change the time to the end of this month? Yeah, we changed the time.
Sunday, yeah, Sunday the time changes.
Yeah, so I was going to bring that up.
Good morning.
Good morning. Okay. My name is Jessica Cavalieri. I'm also here on behalf of youth sports, specifically Estero Park. After Hurricane Ian, the lights were off. However, they were fixed and turned back on for a short period of time. Come January, they were all shut off again. So now for the last 3 months, they've been shut off. Spring season has just began, and like everyone has been saying, it's just been, we haven't been able to practice. If we can practice during the day, yeah, our kids are at school, so we can practice. Even 5 o'clock, it's very impossible for families to get somewhere at 5 o'clock on a normal school day with work and school and homework. So typically a practice is from 6 to 8 p.m., which we're not able to do, and because of that, we're not able to get practices in to play games coming April on Saturdays, which are during the day, however, practices at night. So if you're not practicing, you're not having a successful season. With that being said, sorry, it turned off. Parents are also getting very upset. Some are saying they want to pull their children from youth sports. They can't even go to another program because it's all around the county. So we just really beg everybody to please, we want to have a season. Fall season is going to come around the corner, and daylight savings will change again, and it'll get dark again early, and they're saying it could be fixed in a month or so, but it also could be fixed in 6 months from now. So we're just begging for you guys to please just get these fields going for the kids. Thank you.
Thank you. Ashley Simon, followed by Robert Babcock.
I wanted to answer the questions about the city parks. I live in Cape Coral, but in Northwest Cape, so we travel to North Fort Myers. Cape Coral is 100% practicing at night. Drive by them all the time. Okay. So, good morning, everyone. My name is Ashley Simon, and I'm a teacher in Lee County. My husband, Josh Simon, is a firefighter in Bonita Springs. Like you, commissioners, we are public servants, but in a different capacity. Like many families in Lee County, we were significantly affected by Hurricane Ian. Mr. Pendergrass, as you know, being a retired firefighter, many times the families of a firefighter have to go through difficult situations without their significant other. Not to mention not seeing them much in the following weeks. That is what I did with our 3 children in the laundry room of our house. My oldest son lost the most. His room withstood the most damage, and he lost most of his belongings. As a mom, I struggled most in those weeks that followed Ian, unable to control what my babies were going through and trying to clean up what the storm destroyed. When we were able to get back to football, it was Jude's lifeline. The normal in the middle of chaos. He and his younger brother, Lucas, looked forward to every practice and game. Mr. Greenwell, I know you understand the importance of youth sports. It is so much more than the sport itself. We all know how essential community is for our children, and that's what the North Fort Myers Knights are to us. I didn't realize it right away, but I needed those practices, especially those games, to look forward to after Ian. My family and many other families at the fields lost a lot, some their entire houses and some sadly family members. We all came together and united for our kids. Our field safely held many night practices and hosted multiple games, including the Peace River Championship that my oldest son and his teammates won. It was safe then, and it is safe now. Although we are in a better place than we were even a couple months ago, our boys still need their outlet and community more than anything after everything they've recently been through. I voted for most of you and trusted you guys to do the right thing for the community. I still trust you to do the right thing. Come see our field for yourself at night, let our children practice, and come watch a game. Our kids are worth it.
Thank you. Robert Babcock, followed by William Romig, I think?
This is the corrected minutes. I'm a retired police officer, not a firefighter. I like chili, but I like donuts better, so.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Robert Babcock, and I sit on the board with North Myers, and I also sit on the board for Peace River Conference, which oversees 21 associations, roughly 10,000 kids. The graphic you had up, 23 lights out at our field, I can 100% tell you that's false. I've been to that field with all them lights, and we have 12 lights out. So I don't know where those numbers are coming from, but I can assure you that it's wrong. And I've spent the past week traveling City of Cape Coral parks, City of Fort Myers parks, and I can assure you, City of Fort Myers parks are practicing at night, City of Cape Coral is practicing at night. I have videos. One park in Cape Coral has 28 lights out on 2 fields. Sorry. Another park, the city has allowed them to bring in light towers. To say there's a shortage of light towers, I have access to all the light towers you want. That's what I do. So if you want light towers, give me a call. These kids need this. After COVID, after the hurricane, they need some normalcy in their lives, and they're not getting it. They're going to end up being with this gentleman at some youth camp because they're getting in trouble because they don't have an outlet to put their energy out. So I'm just asking, come to our fields. Mr. Roger, I can't pronounce your last name, I apologize. Mr. Roger came, and the look on his face told you, why are we not here? And I understand the liability. Why was the liability okay for COVID? We let these kids on the field during COVID. All we had to do was sign a liability waiver. We already hold insurance for $3 million to cover whoever's liable on that field through Pop Warner. We spend $5,000 a year on it. I'm just asking, let's just use some common sense and get these kids on the fields what they need. Thank you, guys.
William, I think it's Ramick, and then Tara Humberger. Well, Tara will be after that.
Good morning. My name is William Romig, and I'm here today on behalf of Septic Sucks, a citizen-led effort calling on state and county elected officials to address the septic systems that are polluting our water. Over the past couple of weeks, we have spoken to hundreds of members of our community, and one thing has remained constant. Residents want to protect their waterways. They want our state to remain beautiful and have the pleasures of enjoying our great springs, rivers, and world-class beaches. They want to see thousands of tourists come to our state and continue to see the economic growth with tourism dollars that help make our economy flourish. They have learned that the #1 pollutant of our waterways is septic tanks. They don't want to see our dead fish, dolphins, and manatees because of algae growth that leads to red tide. They don't want to have to hear the tales of small businesses going under because tourists decide to pass on our state for those out west. As we've spoken to hundreds of people around our region, one thing has become clear. Most people have no idea the environmental dangers old septic systems pose to our water, our health, and our state. Our elected leaders should be doing everything in their power to protect the health and safety of our residents. We call on this county commission to work to help residents like Sarah, who want to do their part in keeping our waterways clean by banning future septic tank projects or require that they contain nutrient removal technology, and working with the state government to help fund these replacements and upgrades. The future of our state and our water rely on this work, and we ask for your support to fight for a healthy future. I know I'm proud to be born and raised in Florida, and I know everyone here is lucky to call this great state their home. We just need to work together to make sure our children and grandchildren can enjoy this amazing state too. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Tara Humberger, followed by William Joe Schottmiller.
Good morning.
Morning.
My name is Tara Humberger. I am a volunteer coach for the Mighty Might level at the North Fort Myers Junior Football Association. I'm not just a coach, but I'm a mother to a cheerleader at this association. Over the last few months, We have waited and waited for our children to get back on the fields. I'm sure you all are aware of the video that's circulating around showing the lights that are on our field right now. The county was there personally, and I invite you all to come personally to see it for yourselves. I come to you today to reiterate what my fellow volunteers have already stated, is that let's use common sense and personally look at it yourselves. Youth sports mean a lot to the community. It gives the kids an outlet to have fun. My child has anxiety, and not being able to come with her friends and practice every day, she has to find other outlets to help with her anxiety. I urge you all to really look into this issue and hear out our solutions to get us back on the field as quickly as possible. Saying we can practice on weekends during the day is not practical for parents or for the volunteers for a number of reasons. I would suggest to the county, if you don't have one already, put a continuity of operations plan in place. I work for the state for 10 years. We have one in place for situations that arise because of pandemics and natural disasters to continue operations in the event that something happens. If you don't have one already, I would suggest you have one in place. I would also suggest looking into offering the community recreation center in our area to host for a certain period of time practices. We have the North Fort Myers Community Recreational Center. They have their own cheerleading league over there, and sometimes we can get in practices over there, but often we're not able to because of that other team that is there. So I would suggest that as another option for us is opening up the recreational centers for us to come in. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. William Joe Schottmiller, followed by Dawn Konsikowski.
Good morning. As always, my concern is for the well-being of everybody in this county and, well, in this world. I was at a meeting last night with the city. I have a meeting with an attorney that gave me a card after I spoke. He said that he would see what he could do to help. Now, we need people off the streets. We do not need them in the parks living. We need some type of transitional, affordable places for them to go. That's why I've always asked you guys, and I've come here all the time saying, hey, give us some seed money that we pay back. You know, the Art Center got, what, $700,000 from the city that they're paying back. Let's get people off the street and let's work together to have the basic human needs of people met. Not free, but affordable. You know, Lois Healy builds efficiencies. Well, it's going to take time to do that. Let's have a place where people go and pay until these are done, you know, and use that proceeds to go into that. The property out in North Fort Myers, I noticed, had some FEMA trailers on a state road. But most of those looked like they were vacant. There was only 2 cars at the very end, you know? Why aren't they being utilized, you know? Let people stay in them. Charge them something. Put that money into a fund, and then we'll have some housing. I thank you. God bless.
Thank you. Dawn Konsikowski, followed by Mike Peak.
Morning.
Dawn Konsikowski with Bonita Beach Association. I've tried unsuccessfully to be able to sit down with you and discuss this matter individually, as the citizens were able to in earlier times, and recently a Fort Myers Beach establishment was afforded your individual attention on a different access matter. I attended your December meeting and sent emails for your January and February meetings, asking that the promises made to the citizens of Bonita Beach found in Resolution 4410F be restored. The survey pins and delineation of the property lines between parks on Bonita Beach and the bordering private property from Hickory Boulevard to the mean high water line have been destroyed by the many storms that had caused destruction on the beach over the years since the resolution was adopted. We have had several trespass problems on the beach since these protections were slowly destroyed. We have met and worked with the Sheriff's Office trying to come up with solutions. The problem has gotten much worse since the education protections found in Resolution 44 have been destroyed. Education of the public is always better than incarceration. Resolution 4410F was not adopted as a favor to the citizens of Bonita Beach, but rather was created between the citizens and the county as a favor to Lee County and the public. The Supreme Court of Florida has held that a common law plat has no effect as a conveyance, and an offer to dedicate thereby created may be revoked by the owner or his grantee at any time before acceptance by the public. The acceptance of a common law dedication need not immediately follow the offer to dedicate, but must be within a reasonable time and before revoked by the offerer. Acceptance of such an offer of dedication may be by formal resolution of the proper authorities or by public use. The burden of proving acceptance of an offer to the public to dedicate parks is upon the county or municipality asserting it. No dedication is complete until acceptance by the public and must be completed before it is revoked. The factual substantial evidence is attached to what I just gave you, and I insist that it is made part of the record today, because the 3-minute limit you offer me will not be enough to verbally put on the record. In short, the beach parks dedicated and recorded in Plat Book 8, page 65, were never officially accepted by Lee County and were never cleared or used by the public until 30 years after the dedication and 43 days after the offer had been revoked by the offerer. Resolution 4410F was the compromise that the citizens of Bonita Beach and the Lee County Commissioners came to in order to keep the Bonita Beach accesses open to the public. Now I hope I finally have your attention and that you will make the time to meet with me so that while you are repairing the damage caused to the beach accesses in the next few months, that you will take the time.
Your light is on. Thank you very much.
I just have two more sentences.
Go ahead.
May I finish?
Yeah, go ahead and say them.
That you will take the time to survey and delineate the property lines and utilize the signage I recommended to educate the public, a public that would not stand for anyone trespassing in their backyard, yet they think it is okay to trespass in ours. The detail can be found here, and I have an unending amount of Florida case law on the subject of dedication and revocation, and this information will be shared with several citizens that border the accesses. God bless you, and thank you for your service.
Thank you. All right, Mike Peak, followed by Paul Koblentz. Morning.
Good morning. Mike Peak.
How you doing?
President, Board of Directors, Southwest Florida and Lee County Fair. Good morning, Commissioners, County Management, and staff. On behalf of the Southwest Florida and Lee County Fair Association, I'd like to tell you we closed the gates last Sunday night, March 5th, 2023, of the 99th Annual Southwest Florida Lee County Fair. We had over 110,000 fairgoers through the gates in 11 days. A big success for our philanthropy. The Fair Association was incorporated in 1960. Folks, 63 years of being one of the greatest philanthropies in Lee County. We have many clubs, organizations, groups that we support through request. A few examples of those that we spend millions of dollars of funds to help, such as the Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts of America through the Lee County Sheriff's Office Explorer Program, Harry Chapin Food Bank. We also support the FFA, Future Farmers of America, 4-H clubs, not only during the fair, but throughout the year. That is a year-round operation for them. As you know, we have many exhibitors that put animals in the fair. They're basically 4-H and FFA kids. The sale this year of their livestock through our fair was over $800,000. Every penny of that goes right back to those exhibitors. We continue to ask for your support. We know we're going to be coming to you very soon for a new agreement, And we just want to say we've enjoyed being partners with Lee County, and for the benefit of our community, we want to be there and continue our operation. Thank you very much. God bless you and your families. God bless America.
Thanks, Mike. All right, Paul Coblentz, followed by Sierra Nobles.
Good morning, Commissioners. I have children that play football and do cheer at North Fort Myers Community Park, and you should really go out there for yourselves and see that the lights are sufficient for play. I mean, there's no reason they shouldn't be out there. I mean, we have parents that would donate the light towers if that's an argument, versus baseball being able to fit in during the day. There's substantially less players on a baseball team, less equipment and everything, so you need more time for football. So that runs into the night versus the daytime. But it's my understanding also that the Twins facility is going to be worked on today, and still nothing for the kids. So I mean, I get that's a revenue generating venture and children aren't, but children are important and they should take some priority. Thank you.
Sierra Nobles, followed by Erica Allen.
Hello, my name is Sierra and I'm here on behalf of Youth Sports. I would like the board to take into consideration opening fields that are able to operate, and you will see that as a youth sports program, we will come together and work on solutions to get all of us back on the field. In our fall season, 10 hours is required by Pop Warner for us to play games on Saturdays. You are asking us to limit that to Saturdays and Sundays during daylight hours in the heat with 200 football players and cheerleaders, and we do not think it is realistic to be game day ready. We see on the board numerators but not denominators for the field's lights. We're required to hold harmless the county and as a nonprofit cover them for up to $3 million on a certificate of insurance. So we pay $4,000 to $5,000 annually to insure them after we sign documents holding them harmless. To claim now that the lights would be their liability seems to be a third level of protection that is unnecessary and redundant. We as the Estero Mustangs invite you to come to our field at Estero Park any Tuesday or Thursday from 6 to 7 o'clock to see our players on the field. That is all. Thank you.
Thank you. Erica Allen, followed by Brandy Redmond. Erica, you here? I don't see Erica. How about Brandy Redmond?
Hello, I'm Dr. Brandy Redmond. I'm a doctor of physical therapy and an athletic trainer. I'm also a volunteer and a mom for a player at North Fort Myers. I can give you medical study after psychiatric study of how beneficial youth sports are for our kids to prevent depression and anxiety, to prevent increased alcohol and drug use, to keep them off the streets, to keep them out of prison and juvenile detention. We are doing a disservice to our kids. I know at Fort Myers and all Pop Warner leagues, if we can get those kids to play, we get them there, no matter the cost, no matter what it takes. Yet, you're not allowing us to do that. Our fields were acceptable after Hurricane Ian for a Peace River championship. Why they are not acceptable now does not compute in my brain. Let alone my medical background and my scientific background, let me talk to you from a mother's standpoint. I have a son who plays. My son has many learning issues. He struggles in school, ADHD, auditory processing disorder, dyslexia, you name it. Where he succeeds is in sports. He's in elementary school. That means sports outside of school. Okay, great. Guess what? My kid's now suspended and facing being expelled from school for acting out because he can't go be with his peers on a normal time frame. That's not right. We can prevent this. Come to the fields, see, we're lit up, it's safe. If it was safe after the storm, please explain to me why it is not safe now. Nothing has changed. We did not have another storm after Hurricane Ian. We didn't. It was safe then, it's safe now. Let our kids play. We've given you solutions. We've given you alternatives. We've got lights available. Why is that not acceptable? That's my question to you all.
That's the last card that I have. Has anyone else come to speak in public comment? Okay, go ahead.
Hi, thank you for the opportunity to wrap up for the day. First of all, I wanted to
Say your
speak to...
name for the record too, just so we have it.
Yes, my name is Marcia Ellis. And I want to follow up with the sort of the fairness doctrine that was brought out with the different parks, the level of damage, and the potential to get a couple of them online faster. I know when we talk about restoring electric within our community after a storm, we don't say, nope, we can't restore electric to you, Lehigh Acres, because they don't have electric on Sanibel Island. So I think that that's a bit of a ridiculous analogy, that we could go ahead and leverage the resources that we have and get the kids that can be playing sports back to their parks and back to their normalcy. Also wanted to speak about the burn ban, because I don't think that we're really taking the full risk of the damage to the tree cover that we took as a community and as a region during Hurricane Ian into full consideration. I think that there is a real potential for widespread wildfires when we look at how much damage there is, and I think that it would be wise to have some of the fire districts to look at the areas and better assess those risks and have some plans in place in case that the drought continues and we face conditions in those communities. I think that there's more that can be done besides just a burn ban. This isn't a regular season and there's a lot of dead vegetation. And then lastly, I want to speak about the role of public involvement, which was where I was going earlier in regard to the Alico connector and also into regard to the placement of public infrastructure, with resiliency guidance as being ultimately where we're headed, and then also acknowledging that you or I, as commissioners, cannot be everywhere in the county all at once. And we have public throughout the community, and they know best, just like you know best through local rule, what the local conditions are and what our needs are. We know best what sort of traffic conditions exist on Alico Road when we're pulling out into it. We know best what the surface water conditions are on Alico Road with those flowways and the interactions with those mine lakes. And the folks out here that are bringing their kids to play at the parks know best what those environmental conditions are and can really assist in leveraging our resources to bring those facilities back online. I just wanted to say that public involvement is essential in a healthy community, and through things like parks and roads and infrastructure, that's how we build community. Thank you, gentlemen.
All right, anybody else wish to speak this morning? Oh, yes, sir, come on. And when you get up there, just say your name for the record so the clerk can get it. Anybody else want to talk after him? Just raise your hand. If so, yeah. Stand at the door then, and I'll call you up when he's finished.
Hi, good morning. My name is Tim Rose from the Estero Mustangs. I work with Sierra. She's my cheer director for our program. We pull from all the districts, mostly District 2 and 3. I don't want to, we've talked about this ad nauseum. It's not something that we should stop talking about, in my opinion, but want to talk about a couple issues just a little bit deeper. The waivers, I understand council's belief in the waivers. When we did the COVID thing a couple of years ago, we were, as Florida, choosing to go in a different direction than federal law. Now we have state law that is conflicting with these waivers. My parents see Estero High School, the distance from Mr. Hammond to that front door, their lights are on while our kids can't practice. So it's really confusing as subordinate leaders, maybe not elected officials like yourselves, but I have parents saying, why are those lights on and why aren't ours not? They don't get all of this stuff. I understand we've bought new sensors. The analogy I've kind of used, and I'm waiting for a correction on it, is a couple of years ago, a Prius was a fuel-efficient car. With the advent of the Tesla, the spectrum has shifted. So when these lights were built in the early 2000s, they were the standard. As Mr. Brown pointed out, it's not even a standard, it's a recommendation. There's a 30% deviation, that's a recommendation. Now with the new sensors, it goes to a level that these lights were never installed. So either we've criminally allowed kids to play on this field for over 2 decades, or we have an issue here where a new sensor tests something that didn't exist, like DSL versus high speed versus dial-up, right? So as things are changing, we need to understand that things change with it. I don't think a field is bad because it doesn't meet a new standard when before the hurricane, after the hurricane, it did. So I would invite anybody, we have practice on Tuesdays and Thursdays, as Sierra said, from 6 to 8 p.m. I would invite anybody from the districts to come out. You will see that the lights work on our field. They work on the high school across the street. My parents' informed consent is I can see the ball when the lights are on. I can't see the ball when the lights are off. And I see my child sitting on the couch, not participating in sports. I see them being able to run around and seeing things in football. I understand baseball, golf, lacrosse has different standards, and those should be addressed. But for some other sports, swimming, football, and soccer, we need to use a common sense application. If we're going to use new tools to test new standards, let's not get too far away from the common sense standard or the smell test when it goes forward. Thank you.
Thanks. All right, next speaker, please. And when you get up here, just say your name for the record so that we can get it.
Hello, my name is Monique Young. I'm with the Lehigh Acres Raiders. First and foremost, I would like to say youth sport is a big part of the community at Lehigh Acres. I've moved here 8 years ago, and my son been participating from the beginning of time. Our park, on the presentation, we only have 8 light bulbs missing. We had to rent a field just to participate in spring for $10,000 out of our parents' pockets just to have a spring season. I don't see why we would have to pay $10,000 to rent a park versus buying 9 light bulbs or having it situated for us to be able to practice. After Hurricane Ian, we were able to practice and use our parks for our cheerleaders to participate in nationals. So I don't see what changed from then to now. I just ask you guys to take a look into this to get our kids back on the field. It means a lot to all of us.
Thank you for your
Thank
comments. All right, next speaker, please. And just say your name for the record when you get up here. Morning.
Good morning. My name is Jason Garrison. I run a small kayaking business here in Lee County. And I was wanting to just bring up really quick on the new contract with Bunch Beach. It's item number 11 that's coming up today. And in the contract, it states that he gets $5 for every person that puts in, for every kayak that I bring in there, he gets paid $5 for that. Out of my pocket, I have to physically hand him money. What I don't understand, I'm not an attorney, I'm not a politician. In the contract, it says specifically in the contract that it is not an exclusive contract. What am I paying him $5 per kayak for? He has his own launch, his own parking. I have to use the public launch. So if I'm using a public launch, shouldn't I pay the county, not an individual? That's all I really have. I'm very confused on why that is in there.
I appreciate your comment. Let me ask our county administrator to get with you, our county manager, to have somebody from his team.
Mr. Chair, this is the first that we've heard of this issue.
No,
in the county manager's office.
Yeah.
We're happy to get with the gentleman after the meeting and talk about it.
Yes, sir.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Very good. Any further speakers today then? All right, we'll go ahead and close public comment at this time and come back to the board. Any comments? Commissioner Greenwell?
Yeah, Chairman, thank you. Thank all y'all for coming. Honestly, you know, there's so much going on from the hurricane that sometimes it gets overwhelming. And you make great points. So we obviously need to take that in consideration in the future. And what are we going to do about it now? Fortunately, we're very lucky. I hate daylight savings time, but right now, obviously, it's going to help us with that. But I promise you we'll have some in-house meetings and discuss as much as we possibly can what we can do faster and what maybe should have done better, what we can do better next time. Hopefully there's not a next time, but I want you to know you were heard, and our children in this county mean a lot to us. And obviously, being an ex-Major League Baseball player coming from this town, I understand what sports means, and I understand what they mean to our children and to our families. And I wish this would have maybe been brought to my attention a little earlier, because obviously it's something that we need to get on, and we're gonna start meeting with staff, and we're gonna figure out what we can do as fast as we can, because I think it needs to be speeded up, even if it costs the county money. The taxpayers pay a lot of taxes, and we're gonna figure out a way to fix it if we can. So thank you for coming. I appreciate that.
Any other comments? I had one I wanted to make, but You know, so here's where I'm at with this, commissioners. I think the precedent was set, in my opinion, when these folks got to play after the hurricane on these fields with these lights. And I understand all the points that we made about the liability and the concerns and those kind of things, but I feel like they already did it. Like the cat was out of the bag, the genie was out of the bottle. They played on these fields, or practiced on these fields anyways, last year after the hurricane under these lights. So where my head is at is I'm okay. I say let them go out and just practice on it. They're smart, you know. I mean, my football coach would tell me probably suck it up and go play. You know what I mean? So I am, I remember the saying, football was a lot about learning how to overcome adversity and turn a setback into a comeback and a negative into a positive. This is certainly a negative. And I think I'm sad that so many people took their comments so far as to make it sound like we don't care about youth sports and that we're trying to cancel youth sports forever. We're not. Obviously, this was not forever. This was just until the lights were fixed. We certainly care and love youth sports. That's why we spend millions of dollars every year to keep these fields in great shape. So, that's where my head's at. Look, we're coming up on daylight savings time. It's going to stay bright till almost 8:30 anyways. The lights are going to help with that twilight hour, as long as, if there's a way we can work to get them off the fields by 8:30 at the latest, maybe 8, maybe coaches, if you could work with us to wrap up practice a little early. I mean, that's where my head's at on it. I say they did it after the hurricane already under what the current conditions are. Maybe there's a way we could work with the county attorney's office to make them get an extra insurance or something like that, but that's where my head's at.
I agree.
I think we all would agree. So let's talk to the staff and
Commissioners,
see what we can do.
if that's the will of the board, we'll turn the lights on tonight.
That's so they were saying times of practice 6:30. They want to move the times of 5:30 to 7:30 or 6 to 8. And we have to remember. And a lot of the speakers said their fields. We have to remember this, not their fields. It's the Lee County taxpayer fields. As long as the county attorney gives me the thumbs up, I'm okay with it, because this is the Lee County field that doesn't belong to the leagues. So I know they're using them. And if there's a waiver, if there's some way they can create extra insurance for that would actually remove the county from that, then I'd be okay with it too. So I don't know if Richard wants to weigh in on that or not.
Mr. Wesh?
Since we already identified there's a problem, the liability, where I think from a legal standpoint, I think we're putting ourselves in harm's way.
I'll let the county attorney and then Commissioner Greenwell.
Mr. Chairman, board members, the practice of law is one of making recommendations to your client. Our recommendation is, as we've previously stated on the record, I sense the will of the board. What I would suggest is perhaps the board's direction could be tempered such that play will be allowed so long as the illumination standards that are generalized in the industry are met. As you all have pointed out, we're going into daylight savings time. So perhaps a combination of ambient lighting as a result of God's grace and the lights that are available would suffice to meet the industry standards that we have spoken about. And along those lines, we would be comfortable in our recommendation. But in terms of absolute go out and play and rely on a waiver, you're operating at peril, and that would be my counsel to you.
That's the response I was looking for, to feel comfortable with that.
Commissioner Greenwell?
Yeah, since we have daylight savings time, could we utilize it in a way to say we could turn the lights on? It's basically to make sure we get people safely in and out of the parks. Practice needs to end where lighting is not necessarily the reason practice is continuing. So could we maybe countywide set a time and say practice can go till this time? It's okay to turn the lights on, because obviously I understand you have other equipment issues, you're working with kids, you're changing out pads, you're doing other things at the park. That would allow maybe you not to have to shut down so early. Would that maybe be something that's possible to just allow the lights to come on, but yet say practices need to end by, is that possible? Question?
Commissioner, we can set whatever sort of timeline we need to set. With daylight savings coming, if we turn the lights on and say practice has to be finished by 8 o'clock, 8:30, then,
8, yeah, and then that
I
gives
mean,
them
that's sort of the
half
simplest way to think about it.
I'm going to take a stab at this. So I'm going to make a motion that we allow to do this, obviously recognizing daylight savings time. If there's any opportunities for additional insured lost pays, we would take that. And that we open the ball fields, and by 8 o'clock, you had to wrap practice up, and 8:15, you need to be off the field.
Hey, Commissioner, with the caveat that this is for youth football and soccer only, not baseball,
Absolutely.
would not recommend lights in their current condition for baseball. You can't track that. You can't track a 70-mile-an-hour, pitch in those kind of lighting conditions.
Just to follow up, and with daylight savings time, is 8 o'clock going to be adequate for baseball?
We'll have to. I don't know right away.
Okay.
But as
Well,
we get past Sunday, it's a little later every day.
If we can, I'd like that flexibility if we can. I understand your points.
I understand.
I just don't know what illumination, as the county attorney had indicated, relative to what we might or may not achieve with daylight savings time, but I'd like to get them open.
So we have that motion
That's my
from
motion.
Commissioner Ruane. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second from Commissioner Greenwald. Do we have any further discussion on that?
No, just one comment. I think we were all trying to get to the same end game. I think the person that dedicates their time to these young people every day are the coaches. So in the pursuit of common sense, I'm also going to put the burden on the coaches too, to use good common sense. When you need to stop, stop. And that's going to change a little bit going forward. So thank you for the work that you do, and you're the closest to the kids. Thanks.
Now, I have to take public comment on the motion that's on the floor. Now, we just had a whole bunch of public comment. If you wanted to just raise your hands and say you support the motion, I'd accept that too, but you're also welcome to speak. Okay, go ahead, and just say your name before you talk.
My name is Steve Brown, and I'll be very brief. Our youth league agreement already requires us as a youth league agreement holder to uphold whatever rules are put in place by the county, whether it's the lightning meter, whether it's getting a parent code of conduct or a coach's code of conduct. We are already in our youth league agreement required to do that. So if you give us a time frame that says you have to be off the field, the park closed by 8:30, we will abide by that because we have been committed to that. Our league has been in business since 1964. We've always followed those rules, and I guarantee you every volunteer in this room would jump at the chance to follow that rule. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, if this works within the motion, the simplest thing to do, the most unambiguous thing to do is to just say, we'll turn the lights on and you got to be done by 8:30.
Okay, is that the motion maker's motion?
I will gladly amend it, turn the lights on, off the field by 8:30 at the latest.
Okay, so we have the amended motion from Commissioner Wayne, and we have an amended second from Commissioner Greenwald, and we have a comment from our county attorney.
Mr. Chairman, just a question as to the effective date of the motion. I would hope that it would contemplate post-daylight savings time.
It was taking into consideration daylight
Okay, so
savings.
starting Sunday then?
Correct.
Okay, this coming Sunday?
Correct.
Daylight savings time, okay.
Correct.
Very good, so that's the motion, second agrees, we got it all set, okay. Does anybody else wish to speak in public comment on the motion on the floor? Okay, we'll close public comment. Are there any further discussions? Are there any objections? No objections, that motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much. Mr. County Manager, is there any further business before us today?
No, sir.
All right, thank you, we're adjourned.